Hey guys, Whitney here. Welcome to the Passive Investing Made Simple show. I'm your host, Whitney Elkins-Hutten, Director of Investor Education here at PassiveInvesting.com. And I'm so excited to share with you today one of my new series that I'm doing, Money for Tomorrow, guys. I know it says the benefits of depreciation in passive real estate. That is not what we're talking about here. We're actually talking about money for tomorrow. How can you actually utilize 6 simple steps to protect your hard-earned cash? And so, guys, if you don't know me, if we haven't met already, my name is Whitney Elkins-Hutten. I'm the Director of Investor Education here. And we do the show live every Tuesday to help you learn the ins and outs of passive investing so you can go into your next deal with confidence. So check out passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com and make sure to register there to get access to future masterclass sessions, as well as to learn about our future deals. And if you'd like to, hop on the phone with me. Now, we are talking about the 6 different ways that you can protect your hard-earned cash, because it is part of my story and my journey as a passive investor, is that these are things that I learned from the School of Hard Knocks. And by incorporating these 6 ways into my investing portfolio, I was able to save a lot more money in order to invest and do it from a place of confidence, knowing that if anything happened here within my portfolio, maybe we have a recession, maybe we have, some crazy things going on in the economic environment, that I was doing the best that I could to protect the cash that was coming in the core part of my portfolio. All right. So, and this is the whole reason why I invest in real estate, is me and my crazy crew. And, today, over the course of investing for over 22 years, is that, we've scaled a very nice portfolio that gives us 100% control on how we spend our time. But like I said, I learned some of these lessons that we are going to talk about today from the School of Hard Knocks. And that is, I've had the unfortunate experience of settling 5 estates, 3 through probate, 2 through a trust. But the key thing here is that in those estates, that over $700,000 was lost across all 5 of those estates. And now that in and of itself is a pretty stark figure. Okay. That is a pretty, tough thing to swallow. In regards to wealth transfer, most of us would be ecstatic to have $700,000 windfall, right? So we could go invest. But just think about that. Compound that over 7% for 30 years. And that's $5.3 million in wealth transfer lost to my generation and my daughter's generation. Okay. And so I want to help you through this series. We can do that. We're going to do over the course of the next year, understand how to kind of plug some of these holes in your own investing portfolio. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I think you and I, if we know each other, we're passive investors, we secretly feel a pain. And most investors do this, is that we're making returns, but you probably feel like a somewhat little insecure about your plan. And it's not always, do I invest in the next deal? Where is the next deal that I invest in? It's like, do I invest now in today's environment confidently? Okay. And here's the thing, the root of the problem is that we've just haven't all been taught how to master this wealth game. We've just been thinking, been conditioned to think that the next deal or the next tactic we go into, that is what's going to get us to the next level in our investing game. That's going to solve all of our problems. But we need to take a step back and really truly understand the rules. And here's the thing, guys, you are not alone. Okay, this is something that I, want to share with you, is that every investor I know of that I've worked with, actively through real estate or passively, has gone through a same evolution when it comes to creating their wealth, keeping and building and protecting their wealth, and then figuring out how to pass it on to the next generation. Okay. So again, if you haven't had the opportunity to take a look at my new book, Money for Tomorrow, I deep dive into a bunch of tactics that will help fortify you to be the best investor possible. But really what we're trying to teach you how to do is to win that wealth game, to understand the objective, to learn the rules, okay, and to master the strategies, not to get, down into like clicking on headlines or anything like that. And the true objective of generational wealth is to be able to do what you want, when you want, whenever you want, right? And have that income coming in, which means you have to understand how to create wealth in your sleep, keep wealth, grow that wealth, which we spend a lot of time talking about here on Passive Investing Made Simple, and then pass it along effectively. Now, as passive investors, we tend to over concentrate on rule 1 and 3, meaning, if you're here, okay, maybe you just found us, or, if you've been with us for a while, you understand that generational wealth means you have to create streams of passive income so you can turn your time and attention to doing other things, what you were meant to do in this world. Okay. Very few of us are actually meant to be full-time real estate investors. Okay. And then at some point in time in your wealth build, you're really concentrating on how do I grow it? How do I optimize it? Okay. But we also, and this is what I want to talk to you about today, is rule number 2. How do we hold on to it? How do we keep it? Okay. Because if you don't protect your wealth, how will it help protect you? So again, if you haven't done so already, check out Money for Tomorrow. Pre-orders are open on Bigger Pockets. You get some valuable bonuses there. Now, I want to make sure that you guys understand things that we go through here today are not financial advice, legal advice, or tax advice. Okay. So, there are going to be certain things, and I'll point them out directly, that you're going to want to make sure you're pairing with a professional, a legal professional, or an accounting professional with. All right, so let's dive in. What are 6 key ways, steps that anybody can take, but especially passive investors can take right now to protect your hard-earned cash? Okay, well, strategy number 1, okay, is learn how to use interest wisely. Okay, so you can either pay interest or be paid interest. All right. So how do we know which of our, debts are optimally leveraged and which ones that we should get rid of? Now, if you've been following Dave Ramsey for a while, he is a guru in the space. He's somebody that people look up to. And I think his plan works for a lot of people. Just get rid of all of your debt. Okay. If you have all your debt, there's no issue. Now, whether you do it through his snowball approach, okay, working with your smallest debt and getting momentum and continuing to pay, that larger debt over time, or if you use your avalanche approach, which is paying your top most expensive debt and then avalanching your payments downward to eliminate your debt. Okay. Again, if somebody has a problem with credit, okay, both of those strategies are completely viable, but there is a smarter, savvier way for those people who are great with using credit, great with using debt, to understand which one should you pay off actually first. Okay, which one's going to give you the most returns? Okay, and it's called the cash flow index. And this is something that I learned from the people at Wealth Factory, as well as Money Ripples. And there's several other places that's talked about over the internet, but simply take your loan balance divided by your minimum monthly payment, and you're going to get an index. Now, do this for your primary residence. Do this for all your, if you have personal investment properties that you're holding onto. If you have credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever, and then you're going to order that debt. Okay. Anything that gets an index of 50 or below, get that debt. That debt needs to go. Okay. You're going to get a very high rate of return for paying off that debt now. Okay. Anything 100 or above, that's probably pretty efficient debt. You're going to want to hold on to that debt right now. Okay. Now you may want to eliminate it. Maybe you're somebody who wants to carry 0 debt, but if you have to kind of put the cards in the right order, that debt's pretty efficient. If it falls between 50 and 100, okay, that's kind of a caution zone area. You're going to want to, get rid of the danger zone debt first, and then understand in between 50 and 100, how can you either pay that off or renegotiate it to get better terms. So that's step number 1. Okay, protect your hard-earned cash. Okay, use interest wisely. Next, we want to understand how to leverage insurance wisely. Okay, now when I talk about leveraging insurance wisely, your goal is to outsource your liability. Okay, so think about your health insurance, home renter's insurance, automobile insurance, disability insurance. Okay, make sure you have these policies in place. You might consider having umbrella insurance policy that'll coordinate over all of those above insurances and make sure it fills in the gaps. Okay. And then also think about whether you want to have some sort of life insurance policy, term insurance, or permanent insurance. Now, this isn't necessarily meant to make your heirs rich should you pass away. Some people use it for that. But more importantly, to help pay off the expenses in your estate. So maybe you have like large loans that don't go away when you die, or maybe that you have some, health expenses that need to be paid off. That insurance can help eliminate that debt, okay, and get that paid off. Now, there's some gotchas here. So make sure when you're looking at leveraging insurance wisely that you're not paying or overpaying for junk or duplicate policies. Okay. I also encourage people that I work with to renegotiate your insurance annually. Okay. Annually or biannually, call, a couple, with your auto insurance, call a couple competitors, see like if you can get better terms, right? You can lower your insurance by hundreds of dollars. I remember the first year that I renegotiated all of my insurance internally, I saved $891. Okay. And I've continued to optimize from there. Now, for me, that just gave me additional money that I could go and invest. Right. Now, here, the last two, I just want to make sure because this is something that can get anybody, especially on your home or renter's insurance. If you don't have the appropriate writers in place, say like you have a home office, and you suffered a catastrophic loss, maybe like a burglary or, heaven forbid, water damage or a fire to your home. Most home and renters insurance, your home office isn't covered. Okay. Your business loss isn't covered. So make sure you have the right writers in place in order to shore up, again, outsource that liability there should you have a home office. Also, not another gotcha here is not adjusting the terms or coverage on your policy often enough. Okay. So it's not about always paying the lowest amount possible, but making sure that you are paying the appropriate amount for the right coverage. What do I mean by this? And a good example of this is 2 years ago, we had a fire that ripped through the south part of Boulder County where I live and took out 1,100 homes in a matter of hours, like 4 or 5 hours in one afternoon. It was completely tragic. Okay. Now, a lot of the people that own these homes hadn't adjusted their insurance policy for 5 or 6 years. Okay. What's the problem there? Well, when they go to rebuild, because it was a total loss, they sometimes had to make up the gap of 100 or 175K or 250K in order to get their primary home rebuilt. Okay, that is something that most people, a financial gap, most people wouldn't be able to close immediately. So again, leverage insurance wisely. Okay, now here's the thing. This is an area that we all love as real estate investors is how do we reduce or eliminate taxes? Okay, and one of my favorite books is Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. It's probably in its third edition now. But essentially, the overarching premise of the book is learning how to reduce or eliminate your taxes through 5 simple steps, okay, taken in order. Make sure you're taking all the deductions that you possibly can, including depreciation. Okay, again, this is why, us as investors, whether we're active or passive in real estate or in our businesses, we love taking deductions, including depreciation, to help shelter a lot of our income. How can we also save taxes? By converting into entities. So, if you have your own business that you run, maybe it's a consulting practice, something like that, are you checking, do you have the right LLC structure set up? Are you checking as an S Corp? Okay, talk to an accounting professional about the best way to organize your entities so you can leverage them to get additional tax benefits. How can you shift income to lower tax brackets? You can legally pay dependents, okay, who have a lower tax bracket and income for doing work in your business. Okay, this is a legal strategy. This is one of the strategies the wealthy incorporate. How can they pay their kids in their business? My 11-year-old has a income bracket of 12,500, she can make $12,500 and pay zero taxes on it. Guess what? She has expenses. Okay. So she could, I pay her for a legal job that she does in our business. And then now she can pay some of her expenses, like camps that she wants to go to, clothing that she wants to have, stuff like that. Like, okay. And again, there's a tax savings there. And it doesn't just have to be a kid. It can also be, other dependents, as maybe you have older parents living with you or something like that. How can you leverage those tax brackets as well? All right. Then next, number 4 is how can you eliminate income through credits? Okay. Now, deductions, step 1, lowers your adjusted gross income. Taking tax credits is a dollar for dollar wash on the tax bill, tax liability you would pay. But you have to, in order to qualify for most tax credits, you have to have a lower adjusted gross income in order to get them. So again, there's an order of operations here that you would want to partner with your accounting professional to make sure that you were taken advantage of adequately. And then lastly, how can you defer income into qualified retirement plans, IRAs, solo 401ks? The catch here is that we are usually trained to start here, as opposed to creating businesses, buying assets, investing in order to be able to leverage the other steps. All right. All right. What are we on? Number 4 way to protect your hard-earned cash is how can you reduce or eliminate retirement fees? Okay. Now I focus a lot right now on retirement fees, but there are other fees that you might want to also focus on. Okay. Watch your banking fees that you pay, like ATM fees, stuff like that, right? Um, credit card fees, loan fees, like if you're buying property, like what kind of loans are you taking? Are you paying the best deal you can get on title and stuff like that? You want to lower your fees there. But the big coup d'etat here is if you have money in your retirement plans, how can you reduce your fees here? Now, if you guys are watching on video, you already got a little sneak peek of what I'm about to share, but I want to make sure for those people who are listening to audio only that you understand the model that I'm about to pop up on screen here. Now, this model assumes that this person is investing over the course of 25 years, $20,500 a year. Essentially, they're maxing out their, say 401k at work, okay? And also in this assumption that they're getting a $0 match. They're not getting any funds from their employer. Now, it's important that I say $0 match because a lot of people invest in their 401ks for the match. Okay. Now, that match only amplifies our problem. It actually doesn't resolve the problem. Okay. Now, the other assumption is that we're going to assume that this portfolio grows at 7%. So we get 20,500 invested every single year over the course of 25 years at 7%. But this portfolio has a 1.5% total investment fee between all the expense ratios of the stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, as well as a 1% plan administration fee. Guys, this is actually a really good deal on a retirement account. Okay, most people are paying much higher fees. Okay, so they start off at age 43. And over the course of the next 25 years, they actually contribute $277,809. They earned, remember that 7% compounding, $234,095. So just a little under doubled their portfolio. But by the age of 67, they actually paid $103,436 to fees. That's 31% of their earnings going to fees. Okay. So it may feel a little painless in the early years, that 1.5% fee that you're paying, but compound that out over 25 years, that can be a huge loss to your portfolio. Just think about if you had that $103,000 back in your possession to invest and create velocity. All right. All right. So number 5 actually is how can we eliminate provisional income? Now, provisional income is, in a nutshell, is when it is a provision that gets triggered, okay, especially in retirement. So if you're retiring and you're going to take out, say, a required minimum distribution out of your retirement accounts, and it exceeds your standard deduction, either as an individual or as a married couple, okay, which right now is at about $27,000. And guys, I intend to retire on way more than $27,000 in retirement. I am now triggering potentially provisional income, meaning I'm going to be double taxed on my Social Security and potentially Medicare. Okay, so this is a huge problem. This is something that you're going to want to, 5 to 7 years before you retire, make sure you're partnering with a professional, an accounting professional, to make sure that you are moving monies into the right tax buckets. That way, when you hit retirement, you start taking money out of these retirement accounts, that you're not triggering provisional income. Now, there's only 3 assets that don't trigger provisional income, and that is a Roth IRA, cash flow life insurance, and then your IRA, as long as you stay at or below the required minimum distribution. Okay. Now, a lot of people here are scratching their head and they're like, I invest passively in rental real estate. Okay. That triggers provisional income. Technically, yes, but remember, you go back to our tax step number 1, you are using the power of depreciation to keep that income tax sheltered. Okay, again, this is why you want to work with a professional to put all these things in place, but now your eyes are wide open. Okay, now number 6, we want to make sure that you're planning for your incapacity. Okay. And most people think when I plan for my incapacity, I'm talking about a will or a trust, and that's fine. But remember, planning for incapacity is not the same as estate planning. However, it can be considered a part of estate planning. Now, here's the thing. The gotcha here is that most people don't plan for their incapacity early enough, and something happens. Okay. And maybe they have a car wreck, or they have, they're in a tragic accident and they're in a coma for a while. And, something here that, things are now aren't, their wishes aren't communicated adequately. And now their wealth is being depleted when they had an entirely different plan, should that situation actually happen. Hey guys, nobody likes talking about death and dying, me included, but this is super important. So make sure, I don't care if you're listening to this and you're like 18 years old or you're 68 or 78 years old, make sure you have a plan in place for your incapacity, and that it looks like having a living will, healthcare directives, durable powers of attorney, because this will allow someone to step in and make prearranged decisions on your behalf, okay? Perhaps allowing you to keep your health from draining your wealth. Okay. Another way to plan for your incapacity, especially, if you're in the accumulation phase approaching retirement, is to consider to have some sort of insurance policy, especially a cash flow life insurance policy in place. Because say you get a terminal diagnosis, now you have potentially, depending on how you have it organized, an additional stream of income to draw upon if you're incapacitated, okay? Or assets in place to help settle your estate and all your bills when you do pass. All right, guys, those were 6 steps on how to keep your hard-earned cash. Again, part of our Money for Tomorrow series that we're going to be tackling over the course of the next year. You can grab that book on BiggerPockets/Whitney. And if you enjoy listening to this content, make sure to join our Passive Investing Club. You can join at passiveinvestingwithwhitney.com. There, we can hop on a one-on-one call to discuss how we can help you, utilize passive investments to hit your investment goals, as well as you get free access to additional education and priority access to our open deals.